Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday worship service. My name is Lauren Brown, and my family and I have been in this, have been members of this congregation for a few years, and we are so happy to call this area our home and this community our home. So I'd like to extend a special welcome, especially to anyone who's joining us today for the first time. We're so glad that you are here with us. If you have come in person, we hope you have either received a welcome packet with an information card in it, and if you don't have one, you can ask after the service. If you fill that out and drop that into the offering basket, we'll be in touch to support you in finding your way into our community. And for those of you who might be joining us online for the first time, there's a link on our website to an electronic version of the same form. And also our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags, and they can answer any questions. Although, as we often say, pretty much anyone here also probably would be happy to answer your question if you ask them. Whether you are new or not, please consider staying for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in our fellowship hall or also for our online folks in one of our Zoom rooms. And now, let's say our words of welcome together. Whether this is your first or your 1,000th Sunday with us, and whether you strolled, rolled, Zoomed, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. So one thing that we wanted to highlight today, we're starting something new following our services. A chance to have a conversation in a quiet setting. So if the fellowship hall with the coffee and conversation there is a little too loud, or if you'd like to talk to people in a smaller group, and or especially if you are new to the church and you'd like to get to know people, or you want to ask questions, you can come to Reverend Elizabeth's office down on the same floor where the fellowship hall is, right after the service. Well, you can go get some coffee first, and then you can go to the office. And for about a 30 to 40-minute conversation. A UUCP host will offer a discussion question or two based on the service, followed by time for general conversation, and everyone is welcome. So now we're going to take a moment to say hello across the technical divide. So first we're going to show our friends joining us on Zoom. If you are at home, please turn on your camera. And now people at home, give us a wave. And now people here attending in the service in our building, it's your turn to wave. Okay, so we do have a couple of announcements. So the UUCP annual ice skating event will be this coming Saturday, January 17th from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Palouse Ice Rink. I've gone before with my family. It's really fun, especially for those who aren't great at ice skating. They have the plastic thing you can hold on to, and my youngest likes it, although he wants me to be behind him and just push him, so all he has to do is just get pushed around the ice. But we've reserved the whole rink, and the church is covering admission and skate rentals, so all you need to do is show up and have fun. Feel free to invite friends, family. It's helpful to bring your own helmets and other protective gear, and we hope to see you there. And you can email Ryan Yuri with questions. Our next Wellspring Sources program will begin later this month, and today is the last day to register. So if you would like to be part of this program of deep spiritual transformation, please check your email for a link to the registration form, or talk to the program coordinator, also Ryan Yuri, back there helping us out in our tech booth. The program is offered at no cost to participants, and anybody is welcome to join. So thank you. Go for it. We have a wonderful snow retreat announcement.
Our annual snow retreat, which is where we rent a lodge and surrounding cabins out at Field Springs State Park, is coming up in 2 weekends. The 23rd through 25th is that weekend, or whichever Saturday, Sunday are the right dates for that. And we have registration till next Sunday, so we can plan for food. If you have any questions, please let me know. We're going to have, I'll be around for questions after service today, and then we'll have a little meeting next week if you want to come to learn more and do some paperwork, but we can get that all out to you as you register. So come talk to me if you'd like to know more.
And then our last announcement, Stan Smith asked us to let you know that he created flyers with Renee Good's photo. They are available by both doors. If you feel moved, please take one or more and post it somewhere around town. So here end the announcements. So the land on which our church is built is part of the ancestral homeland of the Nimipu, the people, and mistakenly called the Nez Perce, or pierced noses, by French-speaking trappers and traders. We acknowledge the land is held in sacred kinship since time immemorial. The land and its peoples suffered immeasurable trauma brought by Euro-American society, and we are working with its resilient peoples to show respect, to contribute to the healing and nurturing of this Hituit Wetas, precious land, and all its peoples. So we are hoping that folks joining us via Zoom have a chalice or candle to light and something to light it with. And I didn't ask John or Ruth, do one of you want to? John, you want to? Great, thank you. So we hope you have a candle to light and something to light it with. Let's light our chalices together. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens. I am the minister for this congregation. And you know, it's been a hard week. It's been a hard week. And I stand here heartbroken, scared, anxious. I'm guessing I'm not the only one in the room feeling that way. But it is part of my job to regulate my emotions, to breathe deep, to use all of the practices that I have in my toolkit that help bring me back to center, back to courage and presence and wholeness. I have a sacred responsibility to hang on to hope like my life depends upon it, which it does, and then to lift it up and hold it out so that you can do the same, like your life depends upon it, which it does. It's also my job to remind you that it's your job, your sacred responsibility to work with heartbreak, fear, anxiety, to regulate your emotions, to keep coming back to center again and again. And this morning, I just want to remind you that it's not denial or apathy if you need to turn away from the news and care for yourself, to care for your spirit. When we deliberately make the choice to turn our gaze toward beauty and joy and community and connection and whatever else helps us stay human, it isn't because we don't care about the horrors that are happening in Minneapolis, in Portland, in Venezuela, in Iran. It's because we do care. It's because we do care, and maybe we care a little too much. The truth is that nonviolent resistance is not a path for sissies. The journey toward justice is fueled by incredible courage and fierce, fierce love. So another truth is that in this place, in this moment, for this time, no matter how much we care, we are safe. Can you hear that? Can you feel it in your body? So, let's do our job, shall we? Let's begin by singing, "May Nothing Evil."
So, following the turtle's answers about what can we do for those nearby us, we're going to take a moment to engage in the practice of generosity together. For those of you able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen. We typically give away all of the cash from our Sunday offering to local charities whose missions align with our values, a program called the Month of Sundays. This month, the recipient is the Snake River Free Clinic, whose mission is to provide free medical, dental, and behavioral health services to the uninsured and the underinsured. They just recently opened a Tuesday clinic here in Moscow. So to donate, please indicate Month of Sundays on your check or from the online drop-down menu. In the spirit of love and for the continuing work of this church, we will now take some time to practice generosity together.
I invite you now into a time of meditation or prayer. If it feels good in your body, maybe take some deep breaths. And if it doesn't feel good, you can find something else to do that does. You can shake or rock, butterfly taps, pace, whatever helps you move toward a sense of safety and ease and relaxation. We humans like to imagine there's a great battle between good and evil, with the good guys on our side and the bad guys over there somewhere. But we're thinking about it the wrong way, because the battle is actually between love and fear, and it's not just being fought out in the world. It's playing out in every single one of our hearts. Now we know what it feels like when we are listening to love. It feels good and right and solid. So in this moment of shared, quiet contemplation, community, solidarity, and care, let's reconnect to our own center of fierce love. Let the connection feel tangible and strong. We need the still, small voice of love to be the one issuing our marching orders. Sometimes love asks for acts of great courage. And sometimes it asks for generosity and even sacrifice. Sometimes it asks for rest, for self-compassion. It even invites us to turn toward beauty, joy, and even occasionally silliness. Love knows when we need the kind of nurturing practices that restore us to wholeness, and it also knows that when courage or sacrifice are what it is asking for, we won't be able to answer the call if we are not whole. So love reminds us over and over again that we can't answer its call alone. So in this moment, let us remember together that we are part of a community within these walls, but also beyond them. In every part of this world, people of goodwill are listening to love and responding to love's call. In Minneapolis, in Portland, in Venezuela, in Iran, people are listening to love's marching orders and doing what needs to be done. So let's send them strength and courage through the grid. And then let's come back to center again. Locate ourselves in the here and now. We will know what to do, and we will know when to do it. May we put our trust in our connection to Source, in our care for each other, and above all, in the love that holds us and guides us always. Amen. And blessed be. Invite the choir forward. I have two brief readings for you this morning. One is an old one by Thomas Merton from an essay called Confessions of a Guilty Bystander. He writes, "There is a pervasive form of contemporary violence to which the idealist most easily succumbs: activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, and perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone and everything is to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our activism neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our work because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful." The second is a newer one by Sean Ginwright, who's a professor at Harvard. It's from his book called The Four Pivots: Reimagining Justice, Reimagining Ourselves. He writes, "Somewhere along the way, we've all bought into the myth that working harder for justice, removing barriers to inequality, and deeply analyzing policies are enough to transform our society. These are myths because working harder, removing barriers, and analyzing policies simply don't get at the deeper, more fundamental issues that plague our movements for justice. Trust, vision, wholeness, humane relationships, and hope are the real lifeline of movement building. This means working on self-transformation, healing, hopefulness, and cultivating a vision of possibility." God, what a mess. As my kids like to say, I do not like this timeline. I do not like it at all. And yet, here I am, and lacking the power to alter the space-time continuum, here we are, doing the best we can to navigate chaos, outrage, anxiety. Now, as many of you know, last spring I noticed that I was holding my outrage, fear, heartbreak, anxiety in ways that were wearing me out. I started to see signs of burnout, could call it compassion fatigue, outrage fatigue, chaos fatigue, call it whatever you want. The truth of it is I got really, really cranky. Luckily, I noticed the feelings early enough that I don't think I lashed out in ways that were inappropriate. And even more lucky, I have this amazing job where when I'm starting to feel a little crispy, I can go to my board and say, "I'm starting to feel a little crispy. Do you think I could take a couple months of sabbatical and go get my head back on straight?" And the board says, "Of course." And then the whole congregation rallies to cover my responsibility. Well, I travel and spend time in nature, and read some books about doing activism in healthy ways, and journal a lot, and meditate a lot, and do yoga a lot, and spend time with family and friends, listening for love's marching orders all along the way. And the great news is that it worked. Since I got back from my mini sabbatical in October, I've really been holding things differently. I still pay attention to what's going on in the world, but it doesn't land the way it used to. It doesn't take residence in my body. I don't feel weighed down. I'm not constantly fighting despair, anxiety, that sense of heaviness and helplessness. My aunt got me an Apple Watch for my birthday, and so currently I'm obsessed with my sleep score. I got a 99 the other night. Like, who even gets a 99? Never mind a woman in her 50s with I have an autoimmune disease. My joints are always, I have no idea how I'm pulling this off. But it makes it hard to answer the question when somebody comes up to me and says, "Well, how are you?" Because if I say I'm actually doing pretty well, I worry people will think there's something wrong with me. Am I not paying attention? Am I in denial? Am I being selfish or naive? Am I hiding behind my privilege? why am I not completely freaked out? But if I say, I'm scared and anxious and outraged, which is also true, right? Then I'm not doing my job. I'm not regulating. I'm not staying grounded and present. I'm not embodying hope. So this week, I opened up those books again. The Empath's Survival Guide by Judith Orloff. All of these I recommend. Social Justice for the Sensitive Soul by Dorcas Cheng Tozin, and I think maybe my favorite, The Four Pivots, which I just shared as one of our readings. And I'll say more about that in just a moment. And what these books affirm is that successful activism, being a good person, relies on self-awareness, a commitment to personal growth. To keep going, if we want to make a difference, we need to know what kinds of things feed our spirits, and we actually need to invest our time and energy in doing those things as well. So Gandhi, you might not be aware, had a huge fear of public speaking, and he regularly felt overwhelmed in large crowds. And so he had to spend time pulling away from people and going into retreat. And Martin Luther King loved telling jokes. He was known as a practical joker. His wife once described him as being playful as a 6-year-old. So when Gandhi and MLK made the choice to retreat or to laugh, to do the things that fed their spirit, it didn't send them into paroxysms of guilt and doubt, clearly. They just did them. And while as human beings they were far from perfect, no one can deny they were very effective as change agents. So what makes it confusing is that it feels in my body like I care less than I used to. It feels as if there are limits to my caring, and I don't want there to be. Part of me thinks that to be a good person means I have to be this inexhaustible fount of caring and compassion, that I need to have limitless energy to work for justice. But the reality is I've got limits, and so do you. And our founts, those founts, they are without a doubt exhaustible. We all know it. In fact, I need to regularly replenish my reserves in order to have founts at all, especially in these times. So can we remember that the sense of overwhelm is in part a deliberate strategy to keep us off balance, to keep us from being effective? They call it flooding the zone, and they are doing it on purpose. I have this image of being in a giant gymnasium, and there are all these machines launching pickleballs at me. All these balls flying around in various directions. And, pickleballs, if you don't know, they're wiffle balls. But if they hit you, they still hurt, right? And if I'm not careful, I'm going to spend all my time running around, spinning around, paying attention to who's getting hit and where, running everywhere, every which way to try and help folks. Or I can make the decision to stay centered, to be clear about how far I can run and how fast, and I can be strategic. I can choose to respond physically only when I can actually get there in time to make a solid hit. I can focus on my breathing. I can keep my knees soft, my weight on the balls of my feet, ready to move, but not wasting energy. I can notice what's happening over there in my peripheral vision, and also stay focused on what's right in front of me. So I can follow what's happening in Minneapolis and feel the rage and the horror and the anxiety without letting it pull me off balance. And then I shift my focus and I look for what I can do here and now. I can send money. I can post stands, flyers. I can spread the word about protests and vigils. I can put a candle in my window, whatever feels good and right. Then I let it go. And I trust that I've done my part and that everyone else is doing their part. It doesn't help to push past my limits. I'm more effective if I respect them and stay in my zone. So does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to explain here? Self-care is not self-indulgence. Nor is it bath bombs and tea and binging Netflix, although those things can be part of a person's self-care. Self-care is treating ourselves with love and compassion before we try to give to others. It's about putting our oxygen mask on first. It's listening to love and discerning what we need to stay grounded and hopeful, and then doing those things. It's not denial. It's not hiding behind privilege. Self-care is a way of being our best selves. It's a way of maximizing our potential to act for love in this crazy world we live in. There are limits to our capacity to care, and it turns out we're better off respecting them than we are pushing past them. Because how we do things matters as much as what we do. And here's where the 4 pivots come in. So Sean Ginwright, who wrote the book, is, as I mentioned, a professor at Harvard and a leading voice on healing leadership and social change. He's also a dad and an activist, and he's very down to earth and honest and open about his own struggles. And he plays basketball, so I think for him in the gymnasium, it's basketballs flying all over the place, not pickleballs. He writes, "We're all trying to figure out ways to live, work, and play while making the world better. We need a fundamental shift in our values, a pivot in how we think, connect, act, and work. A pivot is a small change in direction from a single point where we are. It means that through one small change in direction over time, we can get to where we want to be. A pivot is not a complete abandonment of what we know, but it braids together what we know with how we feel and who we wish to be. In basketball, a pivot requires 4 interwoven and seamless traits. When a player has a ball, they pivot in order to advance the ball down the court. This pivot requires that they stop momentarily and reflect on what is happening. They have awareness of the relationships and the other players around them. They maintain focus on the goal without distraction, and they calmly and confidently flow into another direction." Now, his 4 recommended pivots all focus on the how of activism, and they are a pivot in our awareness from a lens to a mirror, which involves the practice of self-reflection and exploration of who we are as individuals. A pivot in our connections from transactional to transformative relationships that cultivate deeper human connection through vulnerability, empathy, and listening. A pivot in our vision from problem fixing to possibility creating. And a pivot in our presence, our way of being, from hustle to flow. Do you want me to read those again? Okay, and then I'm going to go into a little more detail. So, lens to mirror, a shift from thinking about what's out there to reflecting on who we are. Transactional to transformative relationships. So instead of looking for the ways what people can give us and what we can give, we look at how we can grow and change. Pivot in vision from problem fixing to possibility creating, and a pivot in presence from hustle to flow. Okay? It's a really good book. It's easy and accessible to read, so if you are struggling with any of this, I recommend it highly. Now, this first pivot from lens to mirror is all about how we perceive and understand the world. We evolved to recognize patterns, and we have the whole body of the social sciences to help inform our pattern making and understanding. Only things are always more complicated than the patterns and categories we create to make sense of them. So Ginwright suggests we pay less attention to why other people do the things they do, and more time developing clarity around what we do and why, so that we can make more deliberate choices that are in line with our values. Now, I've spent countless hours reading articles that report on voting patterns and social and economic shifts, the psychology of fill in the blank, MAGA, white supremacist, mass gun violence, isolation, women, men, etc., etc., etc. It's all very fascinating, and I'm sure that there are grains of truth in all of it, but my attempts to understand why other people do what they do feeds dangerously into my own desire to control or manipulate, which is a fear-based tendency. In my experience, fear-based strategies always backfire. Meanwhile, the time I have spent, also countless hours if I'm being honest, reflecting on and understanding my own interior landscape has granted me a greater capacity to speak and act deliberately and mindfully and with integrity. I think the nicest compliment I ever got was when a therapist told me I was the most self-aware person she'd ever known, and she had nothing more to offer me. Complimented and abandoned in the same moment. So self-awareness keeps us in the present, open and curious and responsive to reality. It grows our capacity to answer those 3 questions we had in our children's story, right? When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do? Ginwright begins the chapter on the second pivot with a quote by Benjamin McBride. The wrong first question is, what do we need to do? The right first question is, who do we need to become? He goes on to talk about belonging, about weaving webs of kinship, about all of the ways our relationships change us when we allow other people to matter to us. So we can argue facts and statistics about racism all day long, and it won't make much difference. But when someone we care about, someone who matters to us, is brave enough to share their life has been impacted by acts of racism, our innate capacity for empathy kicks in. Our whole body resonates with the knowledge that this just isn't right. And those moments happen to everyone, regardless of where they are on the political or social spectrum. Those moments are the ones that move us forward as a society. Now, we can't force people to share their stories. We can't force people to listen. We can't force people to let folks who look different than they are matter to them. But we can work to constantly expand the network of people who matter to us. We can choose to listen. And we also can calmly and bravely, setting whatever boundaries we need to set to stay safe, we can also work on being more vulnerable and open with the people that we matter to. This is love's primary method of healing the world's brokenness, and it is slow and it is messy, but it is effective. Sorry, allergies. The third pivot, from problem fixing to possibility creating, especially resonated with me with regards to the question of what should we be doing about Christian nationalism? Now, I get asked that question all the time, from international journalists to people who corner me in the grocery store. It's one of the consequences of being a visible religious leader in the same town as Christ Church. And to be honest, I'm super tired of the question. However, I've given a lot of thought to my answer, and I'm pretty happy with it. The best way to fight Christian nationalism is to focus on articulating and living our values and making sure we're visible in the public square. In other words, instead of being noisy about what we're against, we should be noisy about what we are for. Now, talking about how horrible Christian nationalism is, which, don't get me wrong, it's pretty awful and not remotely in line with actual Christian values. Christian values are kind of up on the walls, but anyway, that's a fear-based strategy. So instead, can we invite people to imagine with us the possibility of a world where people are free to be who they are, love whomever they love, and worship in the ways that work for them? That is a beautiful vision, a beautiful possibility. Maybe we could even get over our tendency to shy away from theological language and evoke the possibility of an unconditionally loving God, to counter the judgmental and controlling version taught by conservatives. Maybe we could talk about a Jesus who fought for the outcast and the marginalized, a Christianity that centered on love instead of tribalism, and maybe we could name those actual values at the heart of Christianity, which are really the same as the ones hanging on our walls. Jen Wright says, our job is to lean into the practice of possibilities and strive for the future we want to create. I know it's really hard, given the urgency, scarcity of resources, and limited time, but if we are in the business of making deep change, we also have to transform what we believe is possible. It's really the only way. We have to recognize how oppression limits our vision and predetermines our actions and go at it in a different way. The fourth pivot from hustle to flow is my favorite. I've been talking about the feeling of flow with my spiritual director for a long time. And when I talk about being in flow, do you know what I mean? Right? So Jen Wright defines it as the state of consistent, focused, and nearly effortless activity that consistently produces desired results. Flow is the state of awareness that is free of judgment, doubt, fear, and confusion, and is guided by a sense of effortless certainty. Hear that? Effortlessly. It's a very embodied feeling, and it's hard to put into words, but when I'm in flow, I'm centered, I'm fully present, I have both clarity and curiosity. The choices that I make when I'm in flow always seem to work out. And so I've had a personal goal to stay in flow as much as possible for, years now. I first experienced flow only during times of incredible stress. Somehow when I had more to do than I could manage, my judgment and fear and anxiety would melt away, and I'd just do the things without overthinking. I used to talk about how the universe would just pile on challenge after challenge until I stopped trying so hard and surrendered and followed my instincts. But being broken by overwhelm is frankly a really miserable way to get into flow. So I've spent the last decade and more learning how to find flow, how to keep it, and how to find it again when I've lost it. And again, it's hard to put into words, but for me, being in flow requires regular spiritual practice, radical acceptance, staying fully present in the moment rather than rehashing the past or imagining the future, letting go of control, which is a big one, and trusting my intuition. It's about quieting the monkey mind, and in particular, the voices of self-judgment and self-doubt that have me overthinking every decision. One of the most important signposts that helps me find the path of flow is joy. When I want to do something, it feels effortless and easy. Doing things I don't want to do is like trying to fight against a current, trying to swim upstream. And don't get me wrong, sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. That's adulting. But when I prioritize the things that are joyful and easy, I get more done overall. So that's going with the flow. I also have to remind myself regularly that being in flow is like walking on a tightrope. You don't find your balance, you don't find flow and hold it rigidly. You have to find it and lose it and find it again with a million micro adjustments. So, putting myself back in that gymnasium, pickleballs flying every which way, what I'm looking for is that feeling of flow, trust, focus, effortless certainty. It's a little ironic, but we're maximally effective when we understand and honor our limitations. We get more done when we slow down. Our influence expands when we narrow our focus. The mess of the world doesn't need people who are frantically running around trying to fix all the problems. It needs people who are grounded, self-aware, curious, connected, and in flow. And it's our job to be that kind of people. And the way we do it is by listening to love. Love will guide us. Love will lead us. The truth of it is that we're facing problems of a scope and magnitude that we can't think our way out of, no matter how hard we try. So our best hope is to stop trying and start trusting and imagining and living into the possibilities. If we honor our limits, if we can learn to care without trying to control or fix, if we can stop carrying it all in our bodies, then together we'll create the world that we're dreaming of, where every child grows up safe and accepted and loved, where every adult is supported and free and becoming and being their best selves, the world where we're existing in harmony with nature and the planet and its people are not just surviving, but thriving. You in? So be it, and blessed be. I invite you to rise now in body or spirit, and we'll sing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Be seated. Our closing reading is With Love as My Guide by Cindy Terlazzo. Amidst the swirl of life's challenges, fears, and even moments of crisis, I make time to gaze at the night sky, to see the vastness there, and to remember that this moment in time is but a flicker, not an inconsequential flicker, for what I do and think now does matter. My work, though, is to let the debris of this world pass by while I anchor myself to what I know is true. Love, kindness, compassion, and caring for this precious life, this precious planet, and all that call this planet home. This is my North Star. With love as my guide, how can I possibly go wrong? Let's sing together our musical benediction, There is a Love. Please join me in the words to embody our chalice flame. We extinguish this chalice that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again. You know, I chose to add the love, there is a love benediction during pandemic. Do you remember how awful pandemic was? How we were isolated and alone, and they were still flooding the zone, and people we loved were sick and dying, and I just had this vision of some of you in the hospital by yourselves, and I wouldn't be allowed to visit you, and I just, this is the song that I wanted playing in your head. I wanted you to know that no matter what was happening and what was going on in your life, that you were held. You were held by that fierce love. And I want you to feel it now, too. I want you to feel yourself held and move forward from that place, trusting in the love and trusting in your own goodness and your own wisdom. It's a mess out there. And you know what? It's also beautiful. So love it and love each other and trust that it'll all be okay. Go in peace. Come back next Sunday.